Okay, so now you can hear me great. Okay, so like I said, it's my 15th season in strength conditioning, 6th year with Tennessee, 9 years previous in professional baseball with various little minor leagues, and then a brief stint in major leagues. So like I said, what we're going to try to go through is how we develop the youth athlete here, what we kind of go through. First and foremost, the purpose of strength conditioning, obviously, to enhance performance, and then obviously you want to try to minimize the reduce risk of injury. Obviously not going to eliminate as much as possible, but that's what we try to go for. Baseball, as we all know, has very unique physical demands, right? Overhead sport, rotational, so skill-based mainly. Obviously strength and power are important, but obviously it's not like football, a little on more basketball side. So the demands are a little bit different. Also, it's as Tony said, it's a grind. It's a long season. High school, you have summer ball. There's really, nowadays, guys don't have a lot of downtime. So you have to take that into account. What we also do is try to individualize everything. No athlete is the same. Obviously, you're going to do some of the same main things. Obviously, you want to squat, you're going to lunge, you're going to hinge, lower body aspect. However, a lot of the asymmetries and things like that are why you need to individualize. So we try to individualize everything we can here, from the mobility, from the warm-up, from the soft tissue, from the arm care, and obviously the programming in the weight room as far as the lift goes. What we also do, age-appropriate training as well. Okay, from the start of everything, like I said, it's individualized. The physiological differences from young adolescent up towards the older adolescent and then post-adolescent, right? So first thing we try to do is build the foundation. A lot of guys come to Tennessee or camp or whatever and have all these questions. Now with YouTube and everything, everybody wants to do what's sexy. For us, we start the basics. I try to outgrade it like math, right? Start with addition, subtraction, and then we'll get to the sexy algorithms. The building foundation might start with something as far as body control, right? A lot of athletes don't have any body control. They want to do sexy things like power cleans, Olympic lifts, but they're not able to do a plank. They're not able to do a body weight squat and proper movement patterns. So we want to make sure their foundation is where it's at, and really, really focusing on perfecting the movement patterns first. That's the main goal, to be honest. It's keeping it very simple, and just like I said, perfecting the movement patterns. That's the first thing. Post-adolescent, and as they get older, what we try to focus on is identifying any of the asymmetries, obviously. So we'll do our assessments and things like that. I'll get that in a little bit. And then we'll focus on some of the modifications to their program based on injury history, physical needs, and things like that. That's where even more, like I said, the individualism comes into play. And then also education, big on educating, big on teaching our guys how and what to do, how to be aware of your body. So when the guys go play summer ball or they go get drafted in pro ball, they're aware of their body. That's, to me, the biggest thing that guys take away from here. Yes, they're strong, they're powerful, they're mobile, but they're aware of their body. So that way, when you hand guys off to the pro ball guys, the draft guys, they can have a great conversation and they know, okay, what feels right, what doesn't feel right. I like this movement, I don't like this movement. I need to get better in this category. They're fully aware of their body. And the education piece for me personally is one of the most important pieces, because when guys go play in the Cape and they don't have a strength coach every day with them, or they go in the minor leagues and somebody doesn't know them that well and it's their first year draft, they can have a great conversation with the strength coach, the nutritionist, the athletic trainer, PT, what have you, and they can have a sound conversation. They're not an expert, but they know, and that communication is key. So that's where we go from there. Like I said, for the foundational skills, sometimes it might be body weight squat, goblet squat. My personal progression of how I do things, body weight squat into a simple goblet squat, and then we'll progress into a front squat once the movement pattern is perfect and appreciable load is reached. However, those things need to be seen. And a lot of guys struggle with, okay, some kids, they don't want to be bored, right? It may be boring for a little while to keep them safe. That's the main thing. Master the movement pattern. That's what I want to do. I'm a stickler for movement pattern. So our guys, they were here, they tell you, they get really annoyed. I'm a stickler. It has to be perfect. You're not going to be perfect out there on that field, but in the weight room with what we do, you can be perfect, and perfect for the individual. Also, after that, what we usually go with is coordination, or excuse me, I'll show you the goblet squat. Then we go like coordination. So for coordination, we do a lot of core movement, things like that, engaging the core and body. This is one of our pitchers. He's a higher level guy. Very complex movement. It's not tougher than it looks, but we'll go for coordination, balance is another thing we obviously want to do, tying everything in. I know Tony said before, you guys all know, if it's not going to help you translate in that field, why are we doing it, right? Even back in the days in the minor leagues, I remember having a conversation with Brent Strom about one of our pitchers. Willie Paulino was his name. He had trouble replicating his delivery. But he also in the weight room, he couldn't do a single leg RDO. So it's like, okay, how do you expect this guy in an uncontrolled movement pattern, explosive, to deliver it, but in the weight room, he's not able to do it in a controlled setting? Doesn't make sense. It has to correlate. And so that's one thing, like I said, identifying, keeping it simple, and then helping them bounce from there. And then obviously agility plyometrics is something we try to incorporate as well. And keeping it basic. It doesn't always have to be sexy. It doesn't always have to be extreme. This is a couple guys of our pro guys the other day. We're doing this basic 4-cone drill, 7 yards apart, basic. If you have attention and body control, attention to detail, stay tight to the cone, simple can work as well. And like I said, and that's just it can start from the younger high school on up, body control, body awareness, teaching your body to do what you want it to do in the right time. And then you can build upon there. And then it's just basic plyometrics, so seated box squat. And like I said, we'll get sexy, we'll get complicated once guys master the basics. This is a basic one right here, but we'll do multiple movements in one. They might do a depth drop into a lateral broad jump, or a depth drop into a 12-inch box jump, just what have you. That was a very simple variation of a box jump. Speed and agility. One thing we focus on here is speed and agility, running mechanics. It's huge for us, huge for us. One thing running mechanics, what we try to do is maximize what God gave you, right? Everybody's not going to run a 6.460. It's not how it is. But we try to maximize what you have. With that, running mechanics, we focus on a lot. Very important, very important. A lot of guys in baseball, I see, especially youth, have poor running mechanics. I remember when I was with the Marlins, D. Gordon, love him to death. He ran like a kid on recess, but he's running a 6.360, fast as crap, but his running mechanics were bad. So one thing we try to focus on, like I said, is patterns for doing that. And what we do, for me personally, I'll go with linear, change the direction, transverse. We try to get all little by little. We do it 3 to 4 times a week, running mechanics, to be honest. What I don't do is I don't get them with volume if they give me intensity. And by that, I mean, we don't need to do 100 reps. Give me 6 great reps, focus on what we're doing, and then we're done. And then let's go again on Wednesday, per se, and then again on Friday. So keep almost micro-dosing it on a consistent basis and sneaking it in. We'll sneak it in our dynamic warm-up in the weight room, our CNS activation. We'll sneak it in there. So that way they're constantly getting what we're trying to get out of them. And so they're not losing sight of the muscle memory, if you will. Then we also implement it in base running. And I stole this from my time with the Marlins. We did a lot. We had a touch system. So basically what we'll do is running mechanics on a Monday, Tuesday base running. Wednesday, more running mechanics, Thursday base running. So that way we're all keeping sport specific. So that way we're tying into touching the inside part of the bag, whatever it may have you with the shoulder lean. They're still getting it every day, and it's consistent. And some of the drills and techniques we use, like I said, sometimes we keep it simple, start with stationary. Right here, we have Trey Lipscomb doing a wall drill, trying to help with his knee drive, creating force through the ground. Another thing we're trying to do, like I said, we teaching things, ground contact, force through the ground, force development, all that, teaching them, but keeping it simple. So he just did a simple one punch and drive, and then he was doing 2 count. Then we'll do formed running. Form running can consist of A skips, B skips, using a dowel, no dowel. And like I said, all that will be individualized too on the needs of the player. So a player might need a dowel to simplify it, to really help with their posture of the upper torso. And then we have wickets too. I love wickets. We do them very often because it coaches itself. Usually from the start position, what we'll do as well is put a bottle behind them, like a water bottle. And so to make sure we're not having any false movement. So it's all straight forward. And so that way, if they hear the crunch, they know they're wasted movement. It's something little, simple that we try to do that they know. It coaches itself. And then from the form running, like I said, turning into baseball specific. One thing we started doing is curved wickets, just to help keep them movement, get the lean. And then S runs, a lot of S runs. We do those too. Our guys do those pregame. And then, like I said, turning it into base run to keep sport specific because it's great. But with this sport, it's a lot different than it's obviously not track, it's not football. And so one thing I tell our guys is you have to be able to accelerate, decelerate, slide, and turn all in one. So it's not track. You're not running a straight through 100. It's a little bit different. Only time you really are in this game is what? A straight 90, right? Home to first on a straight single. And most of the time, even when you break down, you still look at your right, left, you might have to go pass ball, especially younger athletes. So those are things that we try to teach our guys of, yes, it's sprint mechanics. However, we need to make it sport specific to baseball. So for preventative measures for us, soft tissue, mobility, band stretch, we're big on, because for us, and obviously this game, that's what's important. And keeping guys on that field is what's important. So for first thing, when guys come to the stadium, they might be late from class or whatever, what they do, they'll do the soft tissue, whatever they need to that day, whether it be trigger point, Theragun, foam roll, whatever. They'll do their band stretch. We don't do much static stretching around here. Usually we keep the band stretch 10 seconds each movement, and then right to the mobility. The mobility is individualized for them, and we will go from ankle all the way up to C-spine. Try to get all encompassing for the mobility. Mobile athlete is good. I'm big in mobility, big mobility guy, because for me, it's kind of the glue between the weight room and the field. Great having big, strong guys, the judges, the Jose Cansecos, but they got to be able to move. They got to be mobile. Also with joint health is huge too. And then we'll sneak some CNS activation warm up in there as well. Central nervous system is huge around here for us, for all athletes. And so basically we allocate that to, it's spark plugs of a car, if you will. So if your car is all, you have a great car, you have a Ferrari, and the spark plugs are old, you got to make sure it's and so our dynamic warm-up, also trying to keep it all encompassing. And all the movements that they're going to try to do out on that field, we try to include in our dynamic warm-up. And that can change on a day-to-day basis, whether weather permitting, daily load, whatever have you. Head coach might say, hey, we got 20 minutes. I need you to expand it a little bit. I don't like the vibe that's going on. Okay, so we'll kind of slow the energy down. We use that, sneak that in our dynamic warm-up too. I haven't really talked about that much, but that's what we keep for the dynamic warm-up. Cool down and upper body mobility post-lift. So for our we usually try to do some type of cool down after lift, whether it be core work, whether it be just a little FRC, whatever it may have you. And then every time we do a total body lift or upper body lift, we do upper body mobility. We got to keep the fluidity. Like I said, our guys' strength is relative. So we've had some of our big, strong athletes. Ben Joyce, he'll upper body dumbbell bench 115 for 8. But it doesn't matter if he gets so tight he can't throw anymore and loses velocity. What have we done? So for me, I'm a risk versus reward guy. So for the expense of that, we got to keep the fluidity in our guys for this sport. Arm care, also big on arm care. We do a lot of arm care. Position players, pitchers, obviously catchers, all do arm care. It's individualized for the person and the position. And by position, I don't mean, okay, first base, third base. I mean more position players do their two times a week. And then catchers do theirs, and then pitchers. The pitchers' arm care is all based off of starter versus reliever, and then the outing. So how we do it is basically they have different programs after a bullpen, different programs after a short box, and then different program after a game. And it's all based on, like I said, the individual as well. So once we do our assessment, we find out pitcher might be right wing, right arm winging or something like that. We might have different exercises for them to do on top of their templated arm care. For monitoring and evaluation, it's key for us in individualizing programs. You have to take a look under the hood. Like I said, every athlete's different. So you might have a guy that's big, strong, and fast come in here, and his mobility is terrible, his ankle mobility is bad, his hip mobility. So you have to assess. For us, we really assess when they first come into the state or on the campus, whether it be nutritional assessment and strength and conditioning assessment. We'll do both. And Beth will get into that, so I'm not getting in her lane. And then utilize them both, implement, meet, and then tell the athlete what we're trying to get them to do. The communication is key as well. We don't keep anything private, obviously. So when we do our assessment, I'm telling them what everything means so they understand it. Like I said, the goal isn't for them to be a strength and conditioning professional. It's teaching that body awareness. So what we try to do, implement the testing and the training together. We also, grip strength, we'll do that. We do things with the force plates too, and then velocity-based training. But like I said, for the first year or so, most guys, depending on training age, won't even get to the force plates or VBT because it's great, it's sexy, but foundationally, most guys, you're dealing with people that have never touched the weight before. So why do I care about the VBT if they're not even able to goblet squat, or they don't even know how to lunge, or don't even know how to hinge? So like I said, I'm going to start with addition subtraction with them and then build upon. It might be a year, it might be 2 years, it might be 6 months before they're ready. But it's all, like I said, the progressions are individualized as well. Ideally, I would love everybody to come in here and be able to do that, but that's just not the reality of the situation when you're talking about youth athletes, especially in today's day and age when kids nowadays don't even know if they have recess anymore. They probably don't have gym. A lot of people don't play multiple sports anymore. So you're dealing with guys that only play baseball. 18-year-old kids only play baseball from Crossfield, Tennessee, and he's never touched a weight. So we have to go back a little bit and teach and not worry about the VBT. But it's great to get into, and we do utilize those things when ready. So basically, like I said, for me, what we try to do is keep things simple. Keep things simple. I don't try to recreate the wheel, and everything is individualized. So if I see an athlete that's coming in here, and like I said, he might be from a small town, never touched a weight, we're going to start simple, and then build accordingly. The progression has to be individualized for us. That's what we try to do. Everything, like I said, from the mobility, from the assessment, from the nutrition plans that we have for the guys, everything is individualized and tailored to that player. It does take a lot of work, but it's what's necessary. And you don't have to have a sexy assessment. You don't have to have anything crazy. It can be FMS. It can be whatever you need, whatever needs and fits what you have and we have access to is what's fine. I remember one of my mentors, first strength coach, Gene Coleman, was the Astros in 2010. Came into the weight room and it was amazing in Kissimmee, Florida. And we were talking. I used to pick his brain, probably bug him way too much. And I asked him questions and he goes, Q, I was going to be in GCL. So the head major league strength coach is telling me I'm a rookie ball strength coach. He goes, Q, this is all great. However, you may only have access to a fence, a med ball, a band, and a TRX. How are you going to take an athlete through an efficient program, efficient lift in that time? You can have all the sexy equipment you want. So for me, I always remember that. Always remember that. It's like sometimes that's great. We have a great weight room. We're very blessed now, but still keeping it simple is okay. And I think sometimes people want to do a lot to show. But for me personally, it's not about that. It's about keeping it simple, what the athlete can handle. I don't want to give them too much they can handle because then they get discouraged. And we all know how that goes. It's not a good recipe. So I want to, like Tony talked about, empower. And for our culture and what we have right here, it's about the empowerment. And so also another thing that for me personally, I don't worry about the weight. The strength is relative. Movement pattern. I tell our guys, they ask me all the time, is this okay? Is this weight okay? As long as it doesn't affect your movement pattern, it's great. It's great. If it starts to affect your movement pattern, humble yourself and cut it back. And like I said, training is like math, right? Start addition, subtraction, and everybody's individual. You have, even in school, think about it. Some guys took them a long time to get to multiplication division. Cool. They'll progress accordingly. They'll tell you when they're ready, you'll see fit, and you can use your assessments, you can use whatever, and the communication. The communication is key. And sometimes you have to go backwards too, to go forward. And like I said, I wish all of our guys can get to algorithms, but sometimes they don't get there. Sometimes in 3 years, our guys don't get to where I would like for them to get to. So then when they come back and train from their prospective professional ball teams, then we can get sexy with some stuff. But everything's individualized, and I don't personally try to rush that process. And then for me also, how I do things with communication with Tony, Frank, Beth, Coach Elander, my program is not the Bible. It's a playbook, right? So we've talked about all this stuff, but another thing we have to take into account is what they're doing every day. And like you mentioned, egos. I don't have an ego. I don't think anybody on our staff has an ego, which I love. So it might say, okay, the catchers, they're really getting after today. Our catchers come in, cue, my legs are rocking. Okay, we might need to shift some stuff around. The program says we might have 4x6 at whatever percent we're at right now. Let's dial back. Let's have a conversation. Also, what that's going to do is build that trust and buy-in. That trust, once they trust that you know you have their best interest in mind, and it's not just, well, the program says we have to do this, so you're going to do that, and you can mold and bend with them, the give and take aspect, whether you're in high school, college, or professional, that trust is going to be profound in the relationship. So then when you need to have the accountability, we don't use the P word in strength conditioning. I want to tell Coach V that, but whether the accountability comes into play, you don't have a problem holding them accountable because they know you're there for them and that trust is there. So like I said, accountability, cohesion, that's huge for us here. Everybody's got to be on the same page, on the same side of the road. I know that Tony, I'm not a big no blame, no glory guy, no credit for me personally. I don't like that. I'm usually behind the scenes. I don't usually do stuff like this, but you have to have everybody. It takes a village. One thing with us, we realize it takes a village. We have Beth, we have Zach Stovall, our whole staff. It takes a village. It by no means is it just me. Our guys work very hard in our weight room, but they also work very hard with our dietitian. We promote sleep, recovery, all of that. And so it takes a buy-in. I would not be able to have the success I have here with our guys and the relationships if it wouldn't have the buy-in from our coaching staff. I'm very blessed in that regard, and I'm fully aware of that because it's not training is a priority here, and we understand that. So when Tony talked about his time in college, and I think he understands the importance of what we do as strength and conditioning professionals, right? And I'm firmly believe that buy-in is huge too. If you have a bunch of athletes that don't care about the weight room, don't care about training, don't care about taking care of their body, or running the streets at night, doing whatever they do, playing video games, Fortnite, whatever, it's going to make our job a lot more difficult. And nobody wants to talk about that. That's the tough part that I find too, is getting the true buy-in to take care of your body. Okay, you need to drink more water, whatever it may have. You need to eat right. You need to actually train with a purpose. Hey, did you do your mobility? Those things, the trust, the culture are things that we have really built here that really, really are, that's the secret formula. Everybody asks what the formula is. There's no secret recipe. It's things that we all know that specifically myself, I'm just fortunate and blessed to have people that can really help me and that everybody has the same vision here. And so that's what helps too. And like I said, it's not an afterthought. Training is a priority. So we might have a really rough, a rigorous practice, whatever. Tony will come communicate that with me. I'll pull back a little bit. We'll still get the movement patterns in. We're still getting what we need to get in. I might just go 2-set protocol. So one thing we might shift is the volume, but the movement patterns have to stay consistent. And I get a lot of high school strength coaches that'll ask me questions about in season, things like that. Guys work so hard in the fall and the winter, get really strong, and then in the season don't train. And my question is, why not? Why not? So if it's a priority, let's make it happen. It might be a 2-set protocol, might be a quick 20-minute total body lift, it might need to happen. So we find a way to make it happen, whatever it takes. And that's kind of the mindset we have. A guy might come in late from a bullpen. Cool, jump in, do what you need to do. Let's modify what we need to modify and make sure we're still getting the movement patterns in. You've heard me repeat that term a lot, movement patterns, because that's key. In order for Frank to get what he needs, Tony to get what he needs, Josh to get what he needs from these athletes, we need to make sure that they're staying with the movement patterns and understanding how to translate it. Lastly, if it's not going to help them translate on that field, to be honest, we don't really do it. I know everybody asked about the conditioning and stuff like that. For the pitchers, it's all sprint work. We don't do any distance. It's all sprint work. We might do some longer sprints, will vary. Like I said, I've been very blessed with the people I've worked under, some of my mentors that I can pick their brains from even a time back. We have kind of a wave system for our distance. So 100 yards is probably the longest our pitchers will run. And then we'll go on from there. But it might have that. And then so Frank can really tie it together. And then he's trusting what we do. And then everything is on the same page. So that's really all I had. I appreciate you guys. I think we'll do Q&A at the end. But tying in with Frank, he's going to be up next. And yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate it.